Hello and welcome to the How to Thrive podcast. This podcast is hosted by me, Claire Sanders, and my sister and co-founder, Helen Silver McMahon. Together, we are on a mission to empower individuals and teams with the human skills they need to thrive, maximising performance, minimising risk, and optimising wellbeing. If you'd like to find out more about how we can help your practice, please get in touch via our website, www.being-human.co.uk. Our regular listeners will know just how much importance we place on setting ourselves up for a successful and sustainable relationship working alongside tech. And so we are absolutely delighted to introduce Optimise as a sponsor of the podcast. Optimise is an AI-powered contract lifecycle management platform designed to break the cycle of forgotten obligations, scattered intake, and contract chaos. Meeting teams where they already work, embedding seamlessly into tools like Outlook, Teams, Slack, Salesforce and HubSpot, Optimise makes adoption simple. With self-serve contracting to reduce workload, seamless integrations to create structure, and powerful AI that supports and enhances legal expertise, Optimise helps legal teams operate with confidence and clarity, freeing up that all-important capacity so that we humans can focus on the areas where we add unique value. Thank you, Optimise, for supporting the podcast. Get in touch with them at www.optimise.com and don't forget to mention the podcast when you do. I am hugely excited to introduce you to JHB Partners, one of our sponsors for today's podcast. Many of the in-house lawyers who listen will recognise Josh Blake as an expert in legal resourcing. Last year, he established JHB Partners and continues to support in-house legal teams to build, scale, and optimise their legal functions. With their extensive experience in resourcing and strategic insight, Josh and his team at JHB Partners provides a real sense of calm and reassurance, which is exactly what you need whether you're hiring or looking for a role. Thank you, JHB Partners, for supporting the podcast and empowering busy professionals with the human skills they need to thrive. You can find out lots more about Josh and his team at www.jhbandpartners.com. Get in touch and don't forget to mention the podcast when you do.
The biggest thing you will ever do is role model being a 2% at home. Habits are sort of caught, not taught.
Hello everybody, welcome to How to Thrive. Regular listeners will know that I normally do this intro with my sister and co-founder and co-host Helen, but she is not with us this morning. She is out and about, so it's just me. So I shall keep it short and sweet. I hope everybody's really well. We have got a wonderful guest today, but I'm going to ask your patience because our wonderful producer Ant has told me that the sound quality is not as perfect as we would like it to be. But Andy is just the most amazing person to speak to. He is a self-proclaimed doctor of happiness. Well, he does also have the PhD to prove it. But he is just so wise and so informative. And if you don't leave this podcast with cheeks that ache as much as Helen and mine, I will be most surprised. So bear with the audio. It is very much worth it, very much worth persevering. And I hope you enjoy listening to it as much as we enjoyed recording. Enjoy. So Andy, I started to write a bit of a blurb, a bit of a bio to introduce you, and I'll read what I wrote, but ultimately there is so much here to uncover and deep dive into. That's what I was trying to say. So, Dr. Andy Cope, you are a doctor and a doctor of happiness, which I cannot wait to explore. Your PhD is in happiness. So I can't wait to explore that. You are a wellbeing expert. You are an author, not only of adult books, but also of children's books. And it was only until recently that I realized that my son has Spy Dog on his shelf. And of course you wrote it. And I'm overjoyed by this. And a fantastic, fantastic keynote speaker. And that is really where Helen and I first stumbled over you, I suppose. Helen heard you speak at a veterinary conference and then immediately said to me, we've got to get Andy on at a How to Thrive event. And you spoke at the vet event. Helen is a proud owner of one of your Art of Being Brilliant t-shirts, which she wears with a lot of pride. So, Andy, welcome to How to Thrive.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed. And I think most of that biog was kind of correct, but what you forgot was I'm also riddled with imposter syndrome. So as soon as you read out all those things, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get found out because I am a doctor, but I'm not a medical doctor. Like I know a lot of your listeners are vets. They're proper doctors, aren't they? They're proper, they cure animals. I'm a PhD. So basically what I did was at Loughborough Uni, spent about 10 years there at the business school researching something called positive psychology, which essentially boils down to happiness and human flourishing. So plot spoiler, I flipped psychology on its head away from what's wrong with you to what's right with you, away from languishing to flourishing. And that's, I think, that's where the keynotes and the books come from. I spent a lot of years in the FE sector lecturing. Then I read a book called Sumo, actually. I don't know, you get Paul McGee on this podcast. He wrote a book called Sumo, which is Shut Up and Move On. It's the sort of first non-academic book that I've ever got my head around. And it was sort of academic, but with all the big words carefully removed. And I thought, oh my gosh, you could actually keep the academic bit, keep the spine of it, but lose all the big words, sieve it all out, and then boil it down to actually what's the research really saying in plain simple English. And because of my area was positive psychology and the science of happiness and well-being, everybody wants to be happier. And I've come up with 130,000 word academic thesis that is unfathomable to people like me. I work super hard. I'm not a natural academic. So I thought, well, why am I doing that? Why can't I just get something that will reach the masses? Because everybody wants to feel happier.
It's really interesting, isn't it? I find that fascinating because I think one of the things that we really kind of try and lean into is that academia will only get you so far. That actually, especially in the legal world, we are almost setting people up, future lawyers up for failure by just drilling in so much on academia and academics. And, can you remember a gazillion different cases to quote off in your exams? And it's just not really the real skills in the real world and that people need to succeed or, even better, thrive in their jobs. So I think it's, really interesting that it's kind of setting people up for future success. And as before we started recording, we started to go down the leafy avenue of AI and tech, and I stopped us because I was like, that's going to be a conversation we want to have on the podcast. But I think that is becoming even more relevant now. I don't know if it's what you're seeing as well, but moving from academia and kind of the knowledge that we teach people will go so far by AI and tech and can be replaced, but it's that human edge that is really unique.
It's not something that's coming. It's here, right? It's here right now. It isn't, and it isn't going to go away. It's not my work. It's Daniel Goleman back in the 80s, late 80s, emotional intelligence. He came up with EQ, your emotional quotient. And there's loads of research around then about his stuff around how actually the human factor was a big factor then. And I think it'll be the thing going forward is your ability to connect, your ability to make eye contact. Oh my gosh. Your ability to look up from a screen, your ability to be present with a client or present with your own kids. I think, honestly, they're the skills going forward. We'll almost be having to put that on the curriculum, how to communicate and how to make eye contact.
But it's about being intentional, isn't it? And actually, it's kind of like we're joking about putting it on the curriculum, but I think it's a real skill. I mean, it's the same as, similar, I suppose. I was at school and we used to do like public speaking, and it was, at the time, it was terrifying and loads of people kind of hated it. But equally, it's actually really stood me in good stead. And it's a skill that you sort of think, it was an extracurricular activity, but actually maybe it should be in the curriculum.
Here's a thing for you in terms of presence and being there, because I think most people are absent in their presence now. So how many times do you go out for a meal and you see the family on the next table, 4 people all on their screens, and nobody's communicating or making eye contact? But there's a beautiful Japanese phrase, ichi-go, ichi-e. So back in ancient Japan, every village at a certain time, all the workers would come out of the rice paddies. They'd meet in the village hall for a big tea ceremony, a couple of hours, quite an elaborate thing. But all the villagers are there together. And ichi-go, ichi-e literally translates as sort of one time only. So the thinking is, when we're all together in this room having this cup of tea, this is ichi-go, ichi-e, this is a one time only event, and therefore we're going to be fully present. And if you then think, well, what's that got to do with the modern world? And I think if you extrapolate it into 2026, I think that, to give you an example from today, so I've been married for 3 decades, right? And I love my wife to bits, but like if you take breakfast time as an example of just an everyday thing after 30 years, is just with the same person, it's just like a bland thing, isn't it? She'll sit there and have her white coffee, I have my black coffee. It's just a set piece. It's a 15-minute non-event, really. It's just what you do every day. But ichi-go, ichi-e says that breakfast time this morning with your partner is like it's one time only. So you'll have breakfast with them tomorrow, but tomorrow is a different event and it's a different experience. This experience, this breakfast right now, is ichi-go, ichi-e. It's one time only, and therefore, and the kicker is be fully present. And honestly, it makes such a difference because now I've not got the TV on anymore. I'm not on my phone at breakfast time. I'm being there in that 15-minute set piece. What you'll find is a presence with the moment, a presence with the person, a connection that wasn't there previously. And it's then again, oh, okay, that's Japanese and the tea ceremonies and Andy having porridge with his wife, but what's it got to do with everyday business? And I think everything because um, how many times are you in a meeting, but you're on your phone or your phone's face up, and you're being absent? You're not really being there for people. And I think if in the modern world, one of the missing skills is this presence. Are you being present in your presence, or are you being absent? And I think whatever job you've got is bringing your full self to it. You'll feel. I think I don't think it's easy because there's 100 emails and there's 100 notifications going on, and we're being pulled in all sorts of different directions. But I think going forward, the competitor advantage of the people who will really shine in the workplace are the ones that will connect at a personal level. And therefore, ichi-go, ichi-e, every interaction with your child, every interaction with your client is in fact one time only. Make them feel felt.
So, as somebody who struggles, I mean, we're recording this in January, and one of the things, it's not just January. I've always struggled with this. I think in like September as well. I think it's that moving. It's the kids going back to school. It's kind of this schedule change. One thing that I've really struggled with is letting go of almost the good times and moving on. So it's this kind of like, I feel this pressure of, I don't want that to end. That was really good. I don't want that moment to end into kind of like this uncertainty. And so when you're talking about those moments of presence and how, you know, every breakfast is different, which really resonates with me. And I love that concept. Part of me starts to panic slightly and thinks, oh my God, it's like a fleeting moment. And you're right, this will never be repeated. This is a one-time life only. The pressure of I've got to be there, I've got to enjoy it. And sometimes I find that really hard. Is there a way of kind of accepting? Can you help me, Andy? Help me, Andy.
You're the only person in the world who's getting stressed out about mindfulness. It's supposed to relax you, not stress you. So, oh my gosh, I've missed that moment. And there's another one. I think just chill. Just chill a second, right? Because the good news about the present moment is it's always there waiting for you. It isn't going to go anywhere. All right, it's there waiting for you. All you've got to do is notice it. The thing about if you go to pure mindfulness, just to chill you out a bit, pure mindfulness, there is no past or future at all. There's only ever the present moment. What the modern world is really good at is making us a bit anxious with the present moment, or it's not good enough, or I should have enjoyed it and I've missed it. And we get so rushing through life at 100 miles an hour that, in fact, the human brain is so clever at time traveling to the past. We worry about what somebody said about us 30 years ago at school, or we panic about the presentation we've got to do a week on Monday. So the human brain does this time traveling thing, and it visits all these imaginary other moments where and it misses the only moment that's real, which is this one. We're completely missing the only moment that's real, which is now. So actually, if you miss a moment, it doesn't matter because there's another one waiting for you. Just invest your moments in noticing the beautiful ordinary, the misty morning, the steam rising from your coffee, when you get to a lift and you press a button, it's already at your floor. It's like magic.
I love that. It's so true. The little joys.
Yeah. In fact, let me take you back a bit further than that, right? I've been doing this thing for about 6 weeks now because I don't know what the rest of the world's like, but the British, right? When things don't go our way, when there's a niggle in your day, there's a crinkle in your day, and they can happen all the time. Red traffic light, there's nowhere to park. It's a drizzly day, your train's late, you're beeping your items through the checkout, and the light comes on, and the lady with the special card has to come and rescue you. And what we do with the Brits, we roll our eyes down and we go, oh my gosh, why has it always happened to me? Now, here's the thing, honestly, it's so cool. You can keep grumbling that it happens to you, and you can continue to roll your eyes, but only when good things happen. Game changer. All right. Let me give you an example. So I went to London last Friday on the train, and I was chuckling as I got on the train because my train arrived on time. So I got on my train, going, "Oh my gosh, my train's arrived on time again. Why do trains keep arriving on time for me? This is ridiculous." It's like deja vu. And then, sometimes you have a ticket for a seat and there's somebody's in your seat. Normally there's somebody in your seat and it's awkward, but there's nobody in my seat. So I go, "Oh my gosh, nobody in my seat again. Why isn't never anybody in my seat, in my reserved seat?" And honestly, chuckling my way to London, like, "Oh my gosh, another green traffic light. Then more green traffic lights, I'm going to be early for this meeting." So, I mean, without getting too silly about it, because it can get silly, it's I did it for 2 weeks. Now, the reason it works is partly because it's stupid, all right, and it's silly, but it's a reset because your brain is organised in exactly the opposite way to what I just asked you. Your brain's looking for the red light, it's looking for the late train, it's looking for somebody in your seat, it's looking for the queue at Sainsbury's. It's not looking for the good stuff. So actually, if you want to recalibrate and you want to feel good in 2026 and beyond, then actually notice the good, roll your eyes, the good stuff keeps happening to you. It's hilarious and it works because it's totally counterintuitive.
I'm totally going to try that.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Oh, it's brilliant. So I've got a question for you, Andy. Have you always been inclined to see the positive? Or is it something you've learned or enhanced along the way?
Definitely learned behaviours. So back to the research at Loughborough, I spent 40 years, I'm from Derby, right, Derby's a nice little town, but it's like everywhere else. And I became a product of where I live. So if I stop 100 people in Derby and say, "How are you?" I guarantee 100 people will say, "I'm not too bad considering." Or I'm fair to middling. Or the new one coming through, "How are you?" "Living the dream." So that's the narrative. That's the narrative in my hometown. And I did that for 40 years because you're a product of your environment. So I didn't know any better. And that's fine. I've got no problem with that. I was fine. But fine for me seems, when I started to do my research, fine seems quite a low bar. All right. You got one chance at life. I don't want to go through life just being fine. In fact, I wanted to find a way of standing out rather than fitting in. So to cut a long story short, my research was about what I call the 2%ers, and I know you two know, but I just want to widen it out. So if you plot people on a graph of well-being at work, so specifically looking at workplace cultures, then what I found was that a lot of people get stuck in the bottom third of the well-being. So we get a bit, I call it minor glumness. Or the curse of mediocrity. So it works fine, but we really look forward. We'd rather not be there. If people didn't pay us, we wouldn't be there. So we're there because we get paid, right? But not everybody. But so on my graph, there's a lot of people nestling in the bottom third of the well-being spectrum. But there's a few people that I nicknamed the 2%ers, like you two, basically, who've got something else going on. Everybody listening to this, you can think of in your life a handful of people, probably a single handful of people in your life who've got something extra. They've got an energy, they've got a passion. They're slightly weird. They seem to love Mondays like everybody else loves Fridays. It's a bit odd. They rock up at a meeting with an open mind and a willingness to kind of give things a go, where everybody else is going, "That'll never work." And your 2%ers going, "Well, shall we try it? Shall we give it a go?" These customers, they're magnetic to customers. They go the extra mile. You don't have to ask them 10 times. And these people, I call them 2%ers. There's not many of them, but when you plot them on the graph of well-being, they were living much closer towards the top end of the well-being spectrum, statistically significantly happier. So like almost 30% happier, and similar, like about 35% more energy. They do stuff. They make things happen. They've got I used to describe it like the Ready Brek glow. You aren't old enough, but back in the 80s, there was a advert for Ready Brek. Central heating for kids was the strapline. The snowy day. Picture the scene. It's a snowy day, winter's day. You can see the snow coming down. A little boy's eating his Ready Brek before school, and he develops an orangey glow on the outside. And then he went to walk to school with his mates, and he was literally, it's a dark morning, he's lighting the place up because he's glowing. And all his mates have not had their Ready Brek, and we know because they've not got the glow. So they're all going, "Oh, isn't it dreadful? Don't you just hate the winter?" And our hero is like, "Oh my gosh, shall we build a snowman? Shall we go sledges?" Got so much more aliveness. And it was that That is the 2% ready, break, glow. And it does manifest on the outside almost, but it starts on the inside. And back to your question, I almost forgot the question because I've been rabbiting for 5 minutes. Is it learned behaviors? Yes, it's learned behaviors. So my specific thing at Loughborough, I was looking for what I call intentional strategies of the 2%ers. So who are the happy people? What are they doing that allows them to feel amazing? And thirdly, most importantly, that I was looking for that go into my books and keynotes, what can we learn from them that we can apply to us? So we might also have the ready, break, glow. And for the younger listeners, sorry, I'll shut up in a minute. For the younger listeners, they've never seen the ready, break advert because it got taken off the TV after the Chernobyl incident in, I think, 1986. A nuclear reactor went pop in the Ukraine, and that glow wasn't seen to be such a healthy thing. So he got pulled. But if you go on YouTube, it's just such a cool ad. So it's a glow. We can all think of the 2% in our life, the people who glow. Yeah.
And can you spread that glow? Like, is it, I was going to, should we carry on the nuclear chat and say it's actually, you can catch it?
You can catch it. Right. Okay. This is not my mainstream content. This is other people's, but there's some great research by Nicholas Christakis. He talks about that, yes, you can. There's a beautiful thing called the heliotropic effect in biology, which says that it's essentially flowers follow the sun. So the sun rises in the east, the flowers will lock onto the sun. And if you video the flower and speed it up, the flowers literally track the sunshine east to west, and that's called the heliotropic effect. And all living systems lean towards the light. Okay, so we say that again, all living systems, including humans. So actually, that fabled light at the end of the tunnel we talk about, it may as well be you. Because what are we waiting for? Why are we waiting for somebody else to bring a torch? Let's just light the bloody thing up ourselves. And yes, it is contagious, but again, off the top of my head, the numbers are this: 16%, 10%, 6%. So what that means is your well-being, when you're in 2% mode, that creates what I call flourishing. So upward spirals of emotion in the people around you, but it transmits to 3 degrees of people removed from you. So if you're in 2% mode, all it is you at your best, smile on your face, loads of energy, a bit of presence. Everybody you meet will be a minimum of 16% happy because you're in their life. So if you go into a meeting and you're in 2% mode, everybody in that meeting is now 16% happier. But it doesn't stop there. That meeting then ends and all those people go out to see their clients. Because your staff now are 16% happier, all their clients now are 10% happier because they've got that secondary sort of well-being. But it doesn't stop there either. It's 3 degrees, right? So then those clients go home to their families at the end of the day. And because they're 10% happier, their families are now 6% happier. So it creates this ripple effect, which I think is, so if you can't be bothered to be a 2% of yourself, do it for the people around you. And I think, particularly you listeners to this in professional fields, like how many meetings do you go to where you've got a chance to actually resonate and create flourishing on other people that creates a ripple?
When you have people come to you and say, say you're a leader of an organization and somebody comes to you and say, within this team, the chat has become a little bit negative. People are being negative more than they're being positive. Often, if I'm asked that question, then I'll ask that person to be a little bit of a lighthouse to, try and swerve the conversation towards the positive, try and kind of minimize any negative chat, move the conversation along, perhaps, even if that means moving the conversation into kind of a more personal realm of what you're doing at the weekend or what you're excited for or something like that, to bring a bit of positive spin. Is actually asking somebody to be the 2%, and explaining that to them, is that something that you think would work in that situation? Kind of, I want you to go in and try and see if you can adopt this position and be that.
I always tell leaders specifically that your job, just chill, right? Because once you become a leader, it's like it can feel like a weight across your shoulders. We need you to have a spring in your step. Your job as a leader is not to inspire your team. That's too much to take on. Your job as a leader is to be inspired. And my point is this: if you can get that bit right, so all you've got to get right, so all you can get right is you will actually create that ripple effect, almost via osmosis. Because people, the 4-minute rule, I know I shared it at your conference, but it's a Steve McDermott thing. The 4-minute rule, basically, it's the same thing. It says basically, you haven't got to be outstanding and positive all day. You've only got to do it for 4 minutes. If you can show up at a meeting bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and interested in people and being present just for 4 minutes, then what you will create is that flourishing effect that I spoke about earlier. So the first 4 minutes of a meeting is, let's start with something positive. You can have an agenda that's got negatives on it, but let's just start with some good news. Let's start with an example of the best customer service you've seen since your last meeting. And in 4 minutes later, you can create that uplift into the 2%, and then everything seems easier from there. Everything becomes doable once the team is feeling better. But quite often you see the wrong first 4 minutes.
And for me, that takes quite a lot of pressure off, right? I'm like, oh, it's just 4 minutes, Claire.
Set a timer.
The biggest results I've had have been going home, doing the big, trying to just be the best I can be for 4 minutes for the people that I love the most. Particularly when the kids were growing up. When my kids were little, instead of going home and saying, how was school? Boring. What did you learn? Can't remember. I'm going around that loop and getting nowhere. My 4 minute rule was a breakthrough because I thought, okay, my kids need the best dad in the world, and I've got to ask a better question. So I used to, instead of saying how was school, I changed it. I used to say when they were little, how was school today? Was it good, fantastic, or brilliant? What was the highlight? What was the best thing about school? Slightly different question, right? Which opens it up for them to be really enthusiastic. They'd say, oh, it was really good. Actually, Dad, I looked great. It was brilliant. And you're in. You've then got an opportunity, well, what was brilliant about it? And it doesn't matter what they say, but I promise you that 4 minutes later, your job as a parent is just say, tell me more. No way. Oh my gosh. 4 minutes later, you've created this flourishing effect on the 2% home. And that 4 minutes has led you into the evening. The evening is now different. Mealtime's easier. Homework's easier. Bath time's easier.
And 4 minutes is totally doable. I'm now thinking about, so I live right next door to the school, okay, like right next door. And some days school finishes at 3:15. I leave at 3:14 and 30 seconds. I rush out the door. I grab them up. I know I've got so much work to do. It's a real inconvenience that I've had to go and pick them up. I grab them, I put them through the door, and then I'm like, help yourself to snacks, and then I'm off. And actually, then I wonder why the evening is not this joyous, sort of Sound of Music, sort of untrapped family happiness type thing. And actually, if I stop and listen to it, I'm like, 4 minutes, I've got 4 minutes. That's only 3:15 to 3:19. I can invest 4 minutes. In fact, I can, and I will invest more than that. But it's nothing, is it?
So what you're talking about, Claire, is like, you're so busy, you're literally going to be half finished an email, desk next door to the school, pick the kids up, straight back to the email, right? Because you've got a big long to-do list. You're trying to build a business, you're trying to run you're doing all this. So you've got 1,000,001 things to do. And your to-do list will keep you organised. But what the 2%ers do, there's a subtle shift to what I call your to-be list, which I think is quite a brave thing. It requires a degree of courage and honesty, actually, to dare to point the finger back at yourself and say, okay, honestly, who am I being while I'm doing those things on my to-do list? Right? Am I being world-class? Am I being attentive? Am I being genuinely there and present? Or am I accidentally in the modern world being rushed and hassled and anxious? And I think stepping into being that best version of you, I think it's a really interesting thing, is to write a to-be list instead of a to-do list. So this 2% thing, when you're genuinely buzzing with life and fallen back in love with life, which is what we're trying to remind people how to do, is contagious, particularly at family level. Because we've had some fun with this podcast, but that's not a funny point. That's a really bang on serious. The biggest thing you will ever do, anybody listening to this, is role model being a 2% at home. Because kids it tends to be habits are sort of caught, not taught. So we think we're teaching our kids things, but no, they're just catching it off us.
That's interesting. Helen, would you call mum and dad the 2%ers? Or do you think we've got to where we are now? I feel like I've got to where I am now through quite a lot of hard reflection of I want to be like, I didn't know it was a 2%er then, but let's label it, I want to be more like that. But I've only learnt it, like I'm 44, I've learnt it in the past 5 or 6 years. I've spent a lot of my life feeling like I want to be happier. I just want to feel happier.
So that's really interesting. So I'm probably closer to to Dad, and I think that the way that Dad can be when he's in full swing, he's definitely got that sort of little sparkle in his eye that is the 2%. And I know he was kind of in sales and what have you, and I think that he was very loved by his customers. So I'm imagining that when he was out there selling, he had that charismatic 2%. So maybe I can imagine that's maybe where that's from.
Because it's not an exact science, all right? You can have 2% appearance and still be kind of mood hoovery, but it is a real nudge in the right direction. Like I said, the biggest thing you will do is pass this on, or to the best of your ability to pass it on. But that doesn't mean you can't fake it. You can't, I'm not talking about like going home and jazz handing your way in, like, woohoo, how was school today? I think if you've got teenagers, they'll be like, bloody hell, ain't been on a course, Mum. Yeah, it's not that, is it? It's about finding. It sounds like, Claire, you've been on that journey, finding that authentic sweet spot of, I just want to feel better. Because people can look at your life externally, and you can have, you've got a nice house, you've got nice kids, you've got a nice this, you've got a nice car, but you don't feel it yourself. There's something. Again, it's Robert Holden. He says, if there's something missing in your life, it's probably you, and it's that you at your best bit that is missing. And that's really, really, I mean, I had no idea that positive psychology, I didn't know I was going to write books about it or end up making a career of it. I was a bit like you, Claire. I just felt there was something missing. My epiphany moment, my big breakthrough for me was like 20 years ago now. I don't know if you've ever had an epiphany where you sort of didn't really get life and then you did, like literally next second, it's like bang, oh my gosh, now I get it. And it can happen in a heartbeat. And they're supposed to, normally they'd happen in church or somewhere religious. Mine was in Tesco's, which is why I remember it so vividly. So I'm in Tesco's in Ashby de la Zouche, next to the M42. It's the most ridiculous place to have a life-changing moment. I didn't know anything about positive psychology. I was just looking at normal psychology, looking at illness and phobias, disorders, anxiety, depression, paranoia, trauma. So I was mired in all that. I was wandering around big Tesco's, just doing the Saturday shop, and I had this blinding flash of something, epiphany or big light bulb moment. I realised in the middle of Tesco's, it stopped me in my tracks actually, that wherever I go, I'm there. Right, which I know is obvious, but I'm talking like I got that at a level of significance and clarity that I'd never had before. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in big Tesco's in Ashby, and then I got in my car driving home, going, oh my gosh, now I'm in my car driving home back to my house. I'm in a car. Here, look at me in a car. Then I got back to my house going, oh my gosh, now you're in your kitchen putting your groceries away. So my point it's a big deal for me. My realization really was that I can't get away from me. I've essentially got a life sentence with me. So every single heartbeat of my entire life, I'm stuck with me. I can't do anything about that. So it made perfect sense in that moment that if I can't get away from me and I'm trapped with me, then I may as well be stuck with a version of me that I'm proud of. I may as well be stuck with a version of me that's at least got a smile on his face and doesn't take himself too seriously and has got some compassion and some kindness, some confidence, some optimism, some hope, rather than the version of me previously that I wasn't cognizant of that really. I was happy sometimes if the planets aligned and I was on summer holidays, I was happy, but I didn't know that I could go on a bit of a journey that I could learn to feel great more of the time. So that was my starting point really. And for the listeners listening to this, what I'm really saying is you're stuck with you. And therefore, but that's really good news if it's that 2% version of you, that best version of you, that's really good for you, and that's really good for the people around you.
It comes back to authenticity as well. You know, you're stuck with you, so you need to be authentic. You can't be somebody else, and you've got to be comfortable with you. So, just in terms of the impact that's had, in terms of, I was reading a bit about positive psychology, and this stuff written about the practice of positivity and things like gratitude, and the impact that has on kind of like your physical health as much as anything else. Is that anything you looked at? Did you look at that, the physical manifestation of it?
I didn't. The issue, I wish I had. If you go back, I started collecting data for my PhD in 2005, 2006. So we're talking quite a while, way pre-pandemic and all that. In fact, wellbeing, the term wellbeing, wasn't really a thing in 2006. Neurodiversity wasn't really mentioned it's a completely different language 20 years ago. So there's lots of things that I wish I had looked at back then. I didn't really look at physicality. I was looking at what are called intentional strategies, mostly the thought processes that differentiate between the mood hoovers and the two percenters. What are they doing differently in their thought processes, these intentional strategies? So consciously, deliberately choosing to have a great attitude is the number. It sounds really obvious, but that's the number one thing that a 2%er will do is craft an attitude that works in their favor, but deliberately. And there's effort involved in having a good attitude. It's easy to have a bad attitude, but so to actually train yourself to carry, I call it in my PhD, a portable benefit, which means once you've got that great attitude locked in and you know how to do it, then it goes to work with you, goes home with you, because it is you, it's portable. But so I didn't look at physicality, but I guess if I had my time again, I would. But you can't look at everything. That's the thing with a PhD. You've got to take one small sliver of something and then you try to move the body of knowledge forward. So I'm hoping that somebody now is reading my PhD and going, oh, I can do better than that. That's given me an idea. And so their PhD moves it forward and their PhD moves it forward. So you just add a little increment every time.
Yeah, interesting. So one of the things that I just want, we have to talk about, because actually I think about it maybe if not every day, then certainly multiple times a week, and is something that you shared in your talk at How to Thrive, and it is the 7-second hug. The 7-second hug is something which we talk about within our family. Like my kids, my husband will be like, no, that wasn't 7 seconds. Like we have become the 7-second family because we talk about it. Helen and I laugh about it when we now see each other. Like that is probably the thing which has stuck with me. Like just
the struggle
day,
cuddle.
Almost. The struggle cuddle. For the benefit of our listeners who haven't heard you explain what on earth I'm talking to, and probably think that whenever I've seen them recently in person and I know them and I've given them a hug, they're like, she's held on too long. Will you explain the 7-second hug?
So I don't know how many of your listeners are huggers. I am not personally a natural huggy person. All right. So the 7 seconds is a bit awkward for me, but I'm getting better at it. I learned that the average hug, so if you are a huggy person, the average hug lasts 2.1 seconds. So if you watch huggy people, it will be literally 1, 2, finished. That's how long an average hug will last, just 2.1 seconds and it's done. But the game changer is this: for the love to transfer between two people, a hug actually needs to last 7 seconds or longer. So for the non-huggers amongst the listening community, they're like shivering now, going, "Oh my gosh, that's." And so just to chill. It's not for strangers in the park, right? There will be there's something called Dunbar's number. Everybody should have around about a dozen people in their life, between 12 and 15 people in your life who are your closest family and friends. So your 7-second hug is just for those, your dearest dozen, as I call them, right? So it's not for somebody in the car park. It's not for your boss. It's just for people who are really close to you. And if you listen to this and the 7-second hug is new to you, after you've listened to the podcast, hopefully there'll be somebody around who's in your circle of 12. And I want you to go, even if you're a non-hugger, go in for the 7-second hug. Now, the thing is, they'll be expecting 2.1. All right. So 7 is going to seem like a long time. And my top tip is don't count out loud, because that kills it. If you hang on and go 1, 2, they'll be going, what the heck's going on? And the other thing is, because it's 7 seconds is a long time, they will start wriggling on about 4. As Helen said, the struggle cuddle. And I don't want to think I'm just being inappropriate. I'm talking about being close to people you love, just your 12 people. So seriously, I don't want to get in trouble about this, but just what you will find is that if you just give a 7-second hug, the beauty of that is an I love you hug. You don't have to say I love you. 7 seconds is just long enough for the person to know that you love them. And it's a beautiful thing, actually. So yeah, keep it going. Keep it going.
It's really, really impactful, and it's really made me think. And I think it takes us right back to what you were saying at the start about just being present. Like that 7 seconds is also 7 seconds when you are being totally present for that person that you are hugging. So I think it has that duality to it.
It's a
Really.
win-win. You'll feel great, they'll feel great as well, yeah. And if you've got a slightly
Yeah.
bigger family, if a few of you can have a group 7-second hug, which is even a
Oh.
family 7-second hug is nice. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. So we're coming to time, which makes me really sad because honestly, Andy, talk about spreading the 16%. Like, I was happy. I thought I was happy before I joined the call, but now and honestly, I can feel it physically in my
Yeah, I
cheeks.
can.
I hope listeners can too. Radiating happiness, which I suspect is going to lead into a much more productive day, and hopefully a happier day for everyone around me. What we ask all of our guests as we are closing is for their top tips on thriving. 3 top tips for thriving. Sometimes they are brand new. Sometimes they are a succinct conclusion of everything we've spoken about. But your top tips for thriving, Andy?
Well, let's go for. Well, obviously, the obvious one is to get off your phone. All right, honestly, I know probably people will always give that top tip, but I think that the modern world is messing with us, and to the point whereby we're so busy doing the wrong things, we're engaging in the wrong kind of connection. It's interesting that we're all socially connected, but lonely. So actually, get off your phone and get into the lives of the 12 people. Those 12 people. If you're in the same room as them, keep your phone out of sight and be in the room. So that's an obvious one. I like the idea of if you list the top 10 happiest moments of your life, there won't be any products on there. It'll be experiences. So I think if you want to thrive, it'll be things that you've done with people that you love, probably with no Wi-Fi. Honestly, it'll be quite an eye-opener. It'll be very hard to just pick 10. So therefore, set out, if you want to thrive, have more experiences. Buy fewer products and have more experiences with people you love. Which I think, again, falls into the science of the bleeding obvious. And then maybe I would go with just upgrade your underwear, because I think
Sorry.
we'll leave with that one. In fact, here's your homework. Here's everybody's homework, all right? After you've listened to this podcast, pop upstairs to your bedroom, open your underwear drawer, and in that drawer there'll be some pants in there that you don't really fancy. Last resort knickers, we'll all have them. Emergency pants, yeah? It's the pants you wear when you're gardening, or poorly, all right? So everybody, you'll open your drawer and go, oh, he's right about my knickers. There's some skanky pants in that drawer. Right, so you're going to there'll be half a dozen pairs that are gone. You're going to remove them, you're going to bin them, set fire to them. They're gone, right? And then tomorrow morning, when you're showered and getting dressed for work, you'll open that underwear drawer, and in that drawer tomorrow will be your special pants. No, everybody listens to this podcast to wearing their special pants for work tomorrow on some random day. Right? And what that should mean that as you're locking your car in the car park, you should be sashaying your way across the car park with a certain swagger, because you know what's cracking off down there, right? And honestly, it's designed to be kind of a mildly amusing top tip, but if you want to thrive, there's more science behind that than meets the eye, actually. But if you want to thrive, what happens in terms of happiness is we end up reserving our happiness for a special occasion. I'll be happy at the weekend, I'll be happy at Christmas, I'll be happy in the summer holidays, I'll be happy when I retire. And in the same way, we end up reserving our special pants for a special occasion, where my thing is that life is the ultimate special occasion. So if you want to thrive, quit waiting. And if you combine the special pants with the 7-second hug, that could be a big night.
That's my Friday sorted.
Oh dear. Oh. Wow. I'm not sure where to go from that. Maybe there's nowhere. I mean, Andy, honestly, I don't think I've laughed, but also, like, honestly, I've learned a lot in this session, you know, from wearing my special pants through to like the 4 minutes, all of that. And I think it's actually amazing, the kind of like how accessible you've made it, because I've absolutely loved chatting to you.
I love your social media as well. I have to say, the little posts with just little quotes or sentences on that just are just really lifting and very digestible but thought provoking as well. So, yeah.
Thank you. I think we do beautiful social media. I don't do all those pictures, but I provide some of the ideas. But yeah, we just try, because I think anti-social media, I call it anti-social media. Like, sometimes it's not social, is it? So all we're trying to do is like pump out daily just some nice little messages that keep people in a good place.
Thank you so much, Andy. Honestly, it's been an absolute joy and a highlight. And
Well, thanks for having me.
I'm looking forward to going forward and spreading some happiness for the day. And we've absolutely loved it. Thank you so much.
Okay, go sort your underwear drawer out.
I'm off. Oh, Helen, how are your cheeks?
Oh man, my face hurts.
I've had a facial workout. Honestly, in however many episodes of recording this podcast, I've not laughed like that. Honestly,
You were crying with laughter.
I was
That
crying.
at one point.
when Andy said, when you sort of have some thought about what people's top tips for thriving will be, and so 1 and 2, I was like, yeah, and then 3, I was like, what? Wear your special pants. But he's so right. And do you know what? I once heard Davina McCall talk about this as well. Davina McCall, and it's always stuck with me. Not that I've put it into practice, but she always used to say, wear your best underwear for you. Don't wear it for anyone else. Wear it for you.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. But you know, I've got a bit of decision paralysis on pants at the minute. Obviously, have you been into Marks and Sparks recently? There's so many different types of pants that last time I went in there, I just ran away. I was like,
so do you know what? I mean, they don't sponsor this podcast. They're very welcome to sponsor this podcast.
Oh, you're going to say stripe and stare, aren't you?
I'm going to say stripe and stare. I mean,
Stripe.
next level. Nice. I did some legal work for them, and then they gifted me some pants. A game changer. Like, honestly, massive pants made of bamboo, I think. Really comfortable. Like, yeah. Anyway, we've digested. We're talking about pants.
I know. Thanks, Andy.
But in terms of the 16%, oh my God, I think Andy's spread way more than 16% of joy in my day today. And I can't wait to pass it
Ray
on.
of sunshine, absolute ray of sunshine, and such a an amazing role model for the world as we are at the moment, and the fact that we absolutely need that, don't we? And we absolutely need to be able to take that 2% and share it and multiply it. And I think that's one of his books, actually, The Multiplier Effect. So some really good books there to check out as well from him.
The Art of Being Brilliant is, I think, he's probably most famous one, but that's it's really, really powerful. And Spy Dog for the kids one, which we didn't talk about on the podcast, but in terms of, like, I really wanted to investigate that about his writing children's books, because I just think it's incredibly positive. But yeah, wow, what a conversation. I wrote so many notes that I'm now going to try and like decipher, and I'm not sure I'm actually ever going to be able to.
I love this
fact.
Sorry, I was just going to say that I'm actually in an effort to try to be more present. I've trying more to not take notes and just listen to people and use AI to record the notes. But obviously we're not doing that today. So I feel a little bit lost, because I know that there were several points where I was like, I didn't write it down, and I should have.
So I think this is quite an interesting neurodiversity point. And maybe it's not even about being neurodiverse. I think it's just different people's working styles. I've started taking notes because I find it enables me to be more present. Sounds weird, right? But if I write something down, it means I can stop thinking about it, rather than trying to hold on to it and think, I must ask him about this, I must ask him about this, I must ask him about this. It means I can park it and come back to it, which I think really works for me, rather than kind of wasting that brain capacity. But I hear you, because I think if you're too busy writing notes, then you can't.
I think that's sometimes where I miss the opportunity to ask more questions, is because I'm kind of trying to write it down. Well, I write things down to remember them, but if I'm trying to ask more questions, then I'm often better if I just focus on that person and talk to them.
Yeah, I don't know. What was your highlight, Helen? What was your highlight of that conversation? Is there a highlight? All of it?
Yeah,
I'm going to take the 4 minutes. 4 minutes is my learning. I got in there first. You can have the same.
Yeah, 4 minutes was really amazing. But the other thing I think is that the multiplier effect, the fact that it's so impactful if you can hold that zone, and if you can authentically show up as the 2%, then you will contribute to everyone else and how they feel that day, and how their day goes. And I love that we all have that opportunity to have that influence for the positive. Yeah, and also just the reminder to be present and get off your phone and look people in the eyes and talk to people. And I think that's powerful, and it's really damn obvious, but it's powerful.
I'm also going to try and implement his the reverse nightmare, if you like. So, or is it not reverse? Or the reverse, it always happens to me.
Yeah.
When the train arrives, it's happened again.
I know.
It always happens to me, and I can totally see that. I can totally see that working rather than, it's late, Yeah, I'm totally gonna embrace that.
I've tried that for when I'm going to work. I used to be very much like, always feel like I was going to be late. And I've now tried to engineer an extra 15 minutes into my day so that I actually turn up early. So I have 15 minutes when I get there. And actually, I kind of think I already do it in some respects. When I turn up early and I look at the time on my car and I've got 15 minutes, I'm like, yes, I have got 15 minutes. I haven't been stuck in traffic. And yes, I can go and get a coffee before I start. And I know that's going to set me up really well for the day. So I think it's just more of that, isn't it? It's more of the realising when it went right. Because there will be days, there have been days where I've sat in the traffic for 2 hours and been 2 hours late for work. So it's good to have those
hunting the good stuff.
Minutes.
Maybe hunting the good stuff. But also, when the bad stuff happens, just let it go. I know our jobs are different in that yours, is actual patients, and mine is usually emails. But I kind of get to the point of just acceptance. I used to get really frustrated with traffic. I used to get really frustrated if I was running late, if the kids hadn't got their shoes on ready to go. And I kind of got to a point where I just accepted. I was like, if I'm a few minutes late, I'm a few minutes late. I've done everything I can to get to this point, to get us out the house on time, to leave in enough time. If the universe is colliding otherwise, then so be it. There's nothing I can do. And just let it go. Who am I? People who know me and have known me like 10, 15, 20 years are going to be like, who is this person?
Are you sure you don't want to shout at somebody about that?
Yeah, no, whatever. Let it go. This is the Andy effect. It's heightened.
Do you think we can? Yeah, well, I think we suggest subscribing to his podcast as well, because obviously those sort of drops of joy might just reboot us on those moments where we need that. But,
he was saying actually before we started recording that he records it in his car as well sometimes.
I love
the
that.
idea of that. Yeah.
Is it
Seth Broden? I can't remember his name. Who records it while he's walking his dog, and it's really brilliant because you can hear him squelching. You can hear him squelching through the mud and stuff and calling after the dog. Yeah, I love that. Maybe we should go on the road, Helen. I mean, can you imagine the technical impact that would have? We can barely record sitting down in a studio, but yeah. Oh, another brilliant sitting. Such a great episode. I'm so grateful that we're back doing this. There was a break and we're back, but yeah, really awesome. So check out Andy. Spread the happiness, give each other 7-second hugs in a meaningful and appropriate way. Wear your special pants and focus on the 4 minutes.
And thrive. I think that's the message, isn't it? All of those things add up to one thing, which is why we do this podcast, is talking about the how to do it, practical tips for things you can actually do, rather than sitting, talking about the why or stuff like that, but actually bring it back to the how.
Awesome. Another great podcast. Until next time. Thanks very much, Helen.
Toodaloo.
Thank you for listening to the How to Thrive podcast, brought to you by Being Human. If you'd like to find out more about the work that we do to support individuals and teams to thrive, then please check out our website at www.being-human.co.uk. A huge thank you to our amazing sponsors for this week's podcast, JHB Partners and Optimise. Please do get in touch with them to find out how they can support you and your team.